strong wind was blowing. When they had rolled about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat. And they began to be afraid. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid." They wanted to take him into the boat, but the boat immediately arrived at the shore to which they were heading. The Gospel of the Lord.
Yesterday, John Foley and myself were outside the abortion clinic, and these 5 large corrugated cardboard boxes were taken out, huge. And as they went by me, I blessed them, because those 5 boxes were filled with the children who had been aborted that week at DeKalb Avenue. And they brought them to the medical waste garbage truck, you know. Whereas they used to just throw the children into the garbage. But since AIDS came, they have to package them and protect the people from the blood that is possibly contaminated. And so they have this special medical waste garbage truck that comes to each of these clinics. They usually come on Friday. And they bring out then the boxes which are put onto the medical waste garbage truck. By the end of the day, that truck, huge truck, is filled, absolutely filled. It makes the routes. That's happening here in other cities and around the world. And it goes on and on and on. As you know, I began to become involved in this issue in 1967. It's a long time. It'll soon be 50 years. And it is still incredibly relevant. What you do today is incredibly important, because I'm saying to you, this issue and its importance, long after the other problems are resolved, it's going to become worse if we do not change it. If I might just give you a little bit of a reason for hope, on the other hand, of why it can be changed. The Supreme Court decisions have been going on for a long time. And one of the Supreme Court decisions was Missouri versus Planned Parenthood in 1989. And the majority opinion was written by a justice called Kennedy. And at that time, we had come to the awareness that it is a life. And the Supreme Court decision was in our favor, and he said we have to revisit Roe v. Wade. He was recently appointed by President Ronald Reagan, and he was very pro-life. In 1992, there was a decision called Casey versus Planned Parenthood. Casey was the governor of Pennsylvania, and at that point, we knew it was human life. Because in the original Roe v. Wade decision, Justice Blackmun said, people argue about when life begins, but it became clear that it is human life, this decision would have no juridical power. And so by 1992, when life begins, we were going life in the laboratories. Everybody knew it was human life. Not when it begins, it is human life. And so in the Supreme Court decision, which is frightening, it said that the unborn life is a child. It is a child, no questions asked. And because it is a child, the governor of Pennsylvania has a right to put restrictions on the mother. So you say, well, that's the end of Roe v. Wade. No. They said, however, in the Constitution, they found another basis for abortion. And the basis was not to question whether it is human life or not yet, because now we know it is. They found a basis for the law was, they said, the mother's right to freedom of choice is superior to the unborn's right to life. Therefore, she is able to do it. They found this somewhere in the 14th Amendment. And then they not only did they say that she had this right to life, but they said some damnable things in that decision. And what they said in that decision was that the Americans have become so used to the availability of an abortion to resolve all their problems, financial, moral, social, everything, that it's unthinkable at this point to remove the possibility of having the availability of abortion to the American people, so we will not do so. If you were reading the Dred Scott decision, it couldn't be any different. In the Dred Scott decision, the Supreme Court, it said because people have become so used to slavery, it's unthinkable that we would now change it. Just have to learn to live half the country free, half the country slaves. And here we are again in that decision. And so they did not remove it. They did not remove it. And so what we thought was going to be the changing point where, and the one who was changed was Justice Kennedy, whom we thought we had to fight for, and went 5-4 the other way. And so you begin to say, what in the name of God is happening? We need God's help for sure. But then from that point on, of course, you see, everybody knows we're killing children, including the Supreme Court. There's no mystery anymore. But now we have become used to killing of the children. And then, and there was what we call partial birth abortion. Now, partial birth abortion, it was the pro-lifers who gave it the definition of partial birth. What was that? It was a Dr. Martin Caskill, who was in Cincinnati, Ohio, started it. And Dr. Martin Caskill, what he decided was instead of taking the baby head first out of the womb, or chopping it up, that he would rotate the baby and take it out by way of the feet and bring it out, and the last to come out would be the head. And the idea was that this would be less traumatic on the woman's body rather than chopping up the child. Now that is not done at the 9th month. It's not. Because we said partial birth, everybody thought the child was being born after 9 months. That's not true at all. That was being done for the children who were like 4, 5, 6 months. And they would take the child out with the feet first, and the last thing they take out is the head. Now, when they did that, of course, it was tremendously helpful to them to get body parts from a living human being, the heart beating, which they did, and they were doing. And then the final thing that they would do is they suck out the brains. But if you quarter the back of the child, and the heart is beating, you can take the parts, and that's the best possible thing of a living human being. We are taking the parts for transplants. And the final thing they would do is they take the brains. It was barbaric. And so there was a movement to try to outlaw it. And eventually there was a Supreme Court decision written by Justice Kennedy, in which he declared that partial birth abortion is, that method is so despicable that we're going to outlaw that method of killing the children. And it was upheld by the Supreme Court. Now, more recently, this is reason for hope. More recently, 2 governors in Kansas and in Oklahoma outlawed another type of abortion procedure. And it was in the papers, very small, but actually very, very important, in which it was abortions being done in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th months. Again, similar to partial birth abortion, not outlawing abortion, but a particular procedure. And the particular procedure that they outlawed, they didn't outlaw, they said you cannot use these types of instruments when you're killing the child in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or 6 months. And they spelled it out, the instruments you may not use, okay? And so they have in the thing that you cannot use like scissors and different instruments. And the one who came out and complained at the time of the partial birth abortion, the New York Times in the editorial, they said that partial birth abortion procedure is more humane than the D&E, dilation, evacuation, tearing the child apart inside the womb. They said, that's more barbaric. That's more barbaric. So allow the partial birth abortion because that's more humane. More humane. New York Times. Right? Now, what has happened is the idea of outlawing a particular procedure was, the precedent was set with the partial birth abortion. The Supreme Court upheld, we're not outlawing abortion, but a particular procedure that is very despicable. Now, what we've done is the two governors have passed a law and saying the D&E type of abortion, we're not outlawing, but the instruments that are used to do such a thing, those instruments may not be used to perform an abortion, a procedure. Not outlawing abortion. And what we have now, of course, is the support, really, of the New York Times. Because the New York Times said that the D&E is much more despicable than partial birth abortion. So how could you outlaw partial birth abortion? But now it's reversed. It's reversed. So that the upholding of the decision, it was passed by the governor of Kansas, passed by the governor of Oklahoma, and upheld. It was passed by the state. Now that is, that to follow through that is devastating, because that means what other way are you going to get the child out? Said the pro-abortists across the country. We can't tear them apart. We can't use these instruments. Are you kidding? How do we get the child out? Well, they said that's your problem. But we're not outlawing. You can do it, but you can't use these instruments to take the child out. So the only thing that is left is what they do at Kings County Hospital. What do they do in Kings County Hospital? The mother goes in, and the child is floating in the amniotic fluid. They take the amniotic fluid out on, say, a Monday, and they replace it with the salt solution. The child convulses, is burned from inside outside, and they have to deliver the child on Tuesday morning. That happens Monday through Friday, every day in Kings County Hospital. But you're left with the full child at the end of that, burnt alive. And so that becomes a problem too. So what I'm saying to you is this, it's very interesting now. The movement of within the courts is not outlawing abortion, procedures. And that would be devastating, because it forced the people to come to terms with what are we doing. We know that ISIS and so forth, oh my God, they take their heads off. My God, they dismember and behead every unborn child. And they were taken away in the 5 cardboard boxes yesterday. And the truck was filled with those children. And the indifference of society. And for that reason I said, it will be with us long after ISIS and all the others are finished. They will be. But it will be also long after that, the effects of people going to the spot as you do this morning. Because what do we do? At Planned Parenthood on the 5th floor, at the abortion clinic on the 3rd floor, they do this type of D&E 5 days a week. Tearing the children apart, beheading the children, and they're taken away at the end of the week. Without anyone there. Without anyone there. So this morning, thanks be to God, you will be there. You'll be at Calvary. Remember, there's only 5 people at the first Calvary. I keep telling you that. It wasn't mobbed. And everybody was afraid to go there because everybody was yelling, Barabbas, kill Jesus. Barabbas, kill Jesus. Choice, choice, choice. But there were 5 there. And everybody knows the name today of those 5 people 2,000 years later. We do know their names. And people will recall years from now, were you there when they beheaded the children? Were you there when they tore them apart? Were you there when they took them away in the trucks? When they were there, were you there? And he said, yes, my father was there. My grandparents, my old aunt was there. They were there. They came to it. Once they became aware of it, they were there. And they stood no matter what the crowd was yelling, choice, choice, Barabbas, Barabbas, kill Jesus, kill Jesus. And they stood with them. And so this morning, that's what we do. And it's not ending, of course. You just saw recently in the paper where they're arguing about children who are frozen in their laboratories. Can you kill them? Can you want them? Can you own them? It just keeps spreading and widening. The whole is culture of death in every direction. And so it's not going away. It will only go away if God's people, like you, are able to, like with Mary and John and the others at the foot of the cross, to stand there in prayer, peacefully, lovingly, giving witness. This is not acceptable to God, nor is it acceptable to us, nor to Mary, the mother of God, the mother of these children. No way, no way. And so we stand with them. We stand with them. And we give support to the mothers coming. We try to bring them back to Jesus after the abortions, give them help before. And they need our presence. They're grateful to our presence before and after. Before and after. And so it's in that spirit then that this morning we continue to offer this Mass, the blood of Christ, and ask God's blessings upon us, that we be not afraid to give witness to the truth at Calvary, modern day Calvaries. And be not afraid. Jesus says, be not afraid. He knew it was coming. Be not afraid. And so when we stand with Jesus and Mary, we are not afraid. When we stand with the unborn children, we are not afraid. And we do it out of love for society has gone blind, for the people who are doing this to change their hearts. And God willing, our presence today will help just a little bit to change the hearts.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.